Good morning, everybody, and welcome to day one of the Summer Camp Success Bootcamp. So we're going to cover some information today as more people get on and off today, but we're going to go ahead and record this. We're going to get you where you need to be at, and that way you can go back and you can review what's going on. So the thing that I want to go over with you guys today is let's start with framework. So I want to bring up a presentation for you guys, and I'm going to share it with you. So let's go ahead and share the screen. All right, so for this setup, sorry about that. We're going to start off with setting up a corporation. Now I know that some of you have already got this done, which I highly recommend. If you're not a corporation yet, I would highly recommend that you do set one up. It is super important that you have a veil of protection for your personal assets, and that's what the corporation does. There's also some tax advantages to it as well. I'm not a CPA or a tax attorney, so I highly recommend that you talk to a CPA or a tax attorney to get that information. So the other thing that I want to recommend to you is setting up a 501c3. With the 501c3, it allows you to do a couple of things that you probably, for your for-profit side, are not being allotted some opportunities. So there's about 100,000, I just read it the other day, it's about 100,000 501c3 or nonprofit type applications that go in every year. So if you don't have that status now, maybe you can partner up with somebody who does, and you can still accomplish the same thing without having any kind of issues. So on the 501c3, with your nonprofit status, the two biggest things it does for you is it just grants you access that you're probably not privy to right now. So we use ours for doing marketing inside of the school districts. And then we also do it for marketing inside of our communities. And so with that being said, on the school side, there are two primary ways you can market inside of the school. One is a printed, well, there's more than that, but the two primary ways that I use, there's folders, there's all kinds of stuff, but I found that those don't pull as well because it becomes a blur. You're constantly in front of them all the time. Parents aren't checking folders the way that they used to. And so some schools will do what's called a Wednesday folder or a take-home folder that they'll put stuff in once a week. And that's a way that you can do that. And you don't necessarily need to be a nonprofit for that, but I found that in my school districts where I'm at, because they were inundated so heavily with requests, that what they did is they went to this nonprofit status. And so we did that back in 2001, a little over 21 years ago. And it's really opened up the doors for us. There's another one, and we're going to talk about this in the marketing side of things. There's a system called Peach Jar. It's an electronic flyer distribution system that a company called Peach Jar set up a few years ago. It's not been out very long, but I'll tell you, I like it a lot for a lot of different reasons. When you were doing the drop off, and we used to have to drop off at 21 campuses and had to collate them and sort them and do all that stuff and make sure they were the right number of flyers were for the campus, and then you have to travel to every single campus to get that information to them. And it's really hard to do that, and it's timely, it's costly, and then you have to wait to make sure the printers get it where it needs to be at, and most people don't. They only print on one side of the page. Well, you need to print on both sides. If you're still using that kind of system, print on both sides, not just on one side. The second thing is that inside of the Peach Jar system, it allows you to do up to 4 pages. You can get a lot more information about your camps, after school. We even get to put our martial arts information in there for classes. And so it just, again, it's one of those things we want to make sure and grant access to. And we're going to cover that heavily. So with the 501c3, it's just affording you access that you may not. Same thing on the local community side. I highly recommend, if you're not, to put together bandit signs so that you can get that going immediately. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So let's talk about, luxury versus necessity. Because when you talk about summer camps, we want to position ourselves inside the community that we are not a luxury type business. We are a necessity. Parents can't live without us. Now, we learned this lesson heavily in 2006, 2007, 2008, when the economy just nosed over really bad. Gas prices spiked like they're doing right now. Inflation was pretty high. Not as bad as it is right now, but it was still pretty high. And so we learned at that time that our business structure that had just the lesson part of it took a hit. But the after school and summer camp side did not, because the parents were like, I have to work. I cannot just leave my child at home to their own demise. And it's not even like it was today. I mean, there were video games out, but it's not like it is today, where the phones and the video games and the kids are spending over 100 hours. So we want to position ourselves that we are the necessity item inside of their family budget. And so when you put together your camps, you want to position yourself in that way to where parents are like, I can cut out going to the movies a couple of times a month, or I can cut out going out to eat, but I cannot cut out, XYZ program, just cannot. You want to make sure that you have a system built inside of there to move them from why you're bringing them in to something else. The one thing I've talked about, and I'll keep repeating it, is that if you're not approaching your business from an exit strategy mindset, you're really discounting the value of the company. See, there's a formula out called EBITDA, and it stands for earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and appreciation. And so it's a valuation formula that they use when they're valuing somebody's company, whether they're going to buy it, sell it, whatever the case may be. And so we want to make sure that, that EBITDA formula goes off of a recurring revenue. So the more we can get customers to build into a recurring revenue model where they're coming back time after time after time, year after year after year, then that formula is significantly higher. It's almost 2.5 times greater than the standard EBITDA formula for, say, a standard brick and mortar business. So if we have recurring revenue models, which most of us do, if you have any kind of skills programs where they're doing one-year programs and they're renewing, or after school or summer camp, or a combination of all of that, you're going to have a recurring revenue model. You just want to make sure that you catalog that. And when you catalog it, what happens is that evaluation of the company now becomes at a 7x factor compared to a 2.5x factor. So when you decide to sell the company, and it may not be until 40 years down the road, but you have those built into place so that you can get the maximum out of what you've put into building this corporation. So that's what we want to make sure that we're doing. The next thing is that, becoming an essential business. And this is something we did back pre-COVID. We saw the kind of the writing on the walls. We went to our local county judge and said, hey, I don't know if they're going to close schools down. I don't know if they're going to do all these things, but if they do, we have customers that are first responders, doctors, nurses, they're working the medical field. They're firefighters, police officers. They're workers that have to go out and make sure the equipment's working inside of city municipalities, and they can't be doing things virtual. They're going to have to be someplace, and they need someplace for their kids to go. So we got classified as essential right off the bat. And the reason why I bring this up is that, 30 years ago, if you'd have told me they were ever going to close schools down and go virtual, I would have told you were absolutely out of your mind. Not even a possibility. But we've learned that now is a possibility. And basically, in my own personal opinion, they took this and they politicized it and weaponized it. And the only ones that really get truly hurt out of it, besides business owners, were kids. And so we want to make sure that we're setting our business up in such a fashion that we get to, sidestep landmines or unexpected situations, and we were able to pivot from that. So by driving into that essential business part, we are making sure that we are set up in a way that we're not going to get canceled and we're not going to get shut down because of policy. And believe me, we fought hard and fast when it came to, people calling the police on us and things of that nature. So we want to make sure that we're getting that essential classification inside of your area. And we want to make sure that we're building your business model to be a necessity-driven business model, not a luxury-driven business model. Because I'm telling you right now, parents are looking at their budgets. I promise you they are. And if you're one of those situations where it's like, it's just martial arts or soccer or basketball, I can do without that. But getting that classification and getting that mindset of building in so much value into your martial arts or your skills-based programs, your summer camps, your after schools, they're going to now look at you a different way, especially with how much value we build in and how much, of the confidence and self-esteem and things we build in these young people. You can do that, then it's a situation where they're not looking at you as being, yes, I can cut that out of the budget. You want to have them look at other things to cut out of the budget. So let's go into hours of operation. I'm giving you some hints. You can use whatever works for you and then go from there. So for us, our full-time camps, now we run week-long day camps. We set our summer camps up to where they can reserve just the weeks that you need, because for me, I look at them as being a funnel system. I want to funnel them into our martial arts program, our after-school program, summer camp for next year. And I'll tell you, we're having great issues. But I have some really upset parents right now because, we've been marketing since December. Text messages, emails, voice broadcasts, in their face when they're coming in the academy. And I have long-term customers that are coming to me saying, okay, I'm ready to sign up for summer camp. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, those 5 weeks are closed out. And we're already 15 people deep on the waiting list. And they're like hotter than a hornet. And it's like, guys, I'm sorry. I waited as long as I could and pushed off as long as I could. And, and now we're still 5 weeks away from summer starting, and I've got upset parents. And I'm like, you can get on the waiting list and we'll let you know as fast as we can. But I know that those waiting lists are going to grow. They were growing even last night when I was finishing the prep here. Mm-hmm. So our full-time day camps run from 7 to 6:30, 7 to 6 on Fridays. My part-timers run 9 to 3. Now, there are some of my coaching clients that run 24-hour overnight camps. And it could be a 3, 5, 7, 10, or 14-day session. So it's one of those things that you just need to set the hours based upon your operations. I also have other camps, and we do the same thing in ours, where we're running a skills-based camp in addition to our week-long camps. So whether it's soccer, basketball, football, baseball, lacrosse, gymnastics, cheer, martial arts camps, makes no difference. All you want to do is you want to set your hours to make sure that they are what you want them to be. Because everything you're going to build around the structure and the routines and schedules and everything else are going to be based upon the hours of camp when they're going to run. Because this is all about building systems and processes and schedules and routines that make it run smooth. And that's what we really, really want. So let's get into another aspect, is all-inclusive versus a la carte. So years ago, we ran a la carte camps. We would have our main camp, and then they would have this, we would have a field trip for this and a field trip for that, and a price for this and a price for that. And remember, let's go back to the original reason why we're building camps, is that for me, yes, they are great money generators, but I look at them as being funnels into my other systems. I may only have a kid for a week, so I need to build such a great relationship with that kid during the week and give them such an amazing experience that the parents are coming in every day. Because the first question parents ask when they come in the door every day, the first question is, how was the day? Did you have fun? Well, what we learned quickly was that the kids that got to go on the field trips, they're coming back, they're all excited. We got to go bowling, we got to go roller skating, we went to a jump house, and went, And then the kids that didn't get to go, they were like, oh, okay, great. And so they really felt like they didn't have a great time. So when mom and dad came to pick them up, they're anchoring their feelings based upon one experience, was whether or not they went on that field trip. So years ago, we changed up the model, and we just put it straight across the board. It also allowed us to do a couple of different things. It allowed us to, one, charge more for our camps, because we do a field trip every day. I'm not saying you have to do that, because I have some campers, and I know Jeff's on here right now, they're not at that point yet where they're ready to do field trips yet. It's coming, but they're not there yet. I have Mike who's in the same situation. So the thing is that we want to try to find maybe things that can come there, or games and activities that make it really such an amazing experience. And so we want to do those things. But if you're going to run field trips, make sure it's just included with everybody gets to do it. That way everybody has a positive experience. So for that child that's only there a week, when parents are coming to pick them up and say, how was your day? Oh, my day was great. It was awesome. Okay. So one, it gives you a more financial stable model, because if you are running field trips, the perceived expectation of price of that field trip in a parent's mind, they know. I take my child bowling, it's going to be $20. If I take my child to Top Golf or roller skating or to a bounce house or to a parkour park or whatever, I know what it's going to cost. We don't pay full retail. We pay a group rate. So if you go to Top Golf, minimum, it's going to be probably $25, $30 just for 1 hour, just to rent a thing. So we do ours. Now, granted, we have 5 to 6 kids in a lane. So now we go on a Tuesday where we get, 30% off. So we get that lane for $20. Now we break that up over 6 kids, and now it's only $5 or $4 a piece, right? Or $3 and whatever it is, a cents a piece. So now that field trip cost to us is considerably less than it would have been to a family taking them out, because they automatically know what it costs. So, but in their mind, they know, well, that's really a $20, $25 field trip. Oh, well, going roller skating, that's, $7.50 to $10. Well, we get it for $3, $4. Even with lunch that we provide on Fridays, we take them to either a CC's or a Peter Piper pizza. We've already got a group rate that we've done. It's $5 or $6. That includes the meals, the drinks, the desserts, includes everything. And most times they'll let my staff eat free because we're managing the kids. And so that's another bonus, because now your staff gets to eat free on Fridays and it doesn't cost you anything. It's less work on the staff. When you are looking at a situation where you've got to pull staff apart. This one's going with that field trip. These guys are staying here at the academy. These are doing this over here. It stretches the staff out. Now we get to consolidate staff and kids. It's easier to manage, and everybody's getting to go on the field trip. Everybody's having a good time. That's where we want to have that at. We also don't have and have nots. We don't have the kids going, yeah, I didn't get to go. I didn't have a great time today. The kids are like, yes, I got it. Everybody gets to do the same thing. And even for me, I remember back when I was a kid and just how exciting it was to go on a field trip at school. In the last 2 years, these kids have not had the opportunity to go on field trips. Those have been canceled. And especially you can't do it, you can go do a virtual field trip online. And a lot of these museums now have set up virtual stuff. Heck, I go to the Smithsonian to go online, because it's, out near Washington, D.C. But for me, that's a great way to go look at things. It's not the same experience, but I remember as a kid, the buses would be lined up. You could smell the diesel. You're getting on. You're missing school, right? And for kids, that's a big deal. And so one of those things is that it's about the experience. And that's what we really want to build, is the experience inside of our camps. And you get paid regardless if they show up or not. Now, if you're running skills-based camps, it's no different. You may not be taking a field trip, but you still want to include everything that you're doing inside of the cost. Because one, you're creating more value. You're providing things. Now we're going to show you how to use upgrade models and actually build other camps off of those here shortly. What's included? All the camp activities, the development, daily field trips, lunch on Fridays. if you're doing all day camps. Now, you can do a sports camp if you're doing it, say, from 9 to noon, and build in a lunch cost that you're doing pizza on the last day. That's a great way to have the kids excited. You give them a couple pieces of pizza, a bottle of water. It costs you about $3.50. But again, it builds value into the setup, right? And the professional skills development is included with it. So like on our all-day camps, everything's just included. We have sports stations and activity stations set up in the morning. We have our daily field trips. We have our martial arts lessons, but that doesn't make a difference if it's martial arts or basketball or football or soccer or whatever it is. It's just we're including all of that. The second thing is that we're doing academics and life skills development with them in the afternoons. And this is a huge piece because for a lot of these kids, especially since COVID's been around, their confidence, their self-esteem, their focus, their discipline has really, digressed. It's not been a positive thing. A lot of these kids are behind where they should be at. If you've got a 6-year-old child, they should be able to do these skills. And a lot of them are not. And a lot of these parents are really kind of coddling them and wanting to over-shelter them and overprotect them. And that's not going to help them. So let's get into our daily activities and what we do. And I outline this, and again, it doesn't make any difference if you're running all-day camps, part-time camps, skills-based camps. It's all about structure and routine. Because if the staff knows what the schedule is, I don't send a detailed schedule like this out to the parents, but I do send, and I'll get into that a little bit later on. I do send what's called an arrival and departure schedule, because nothing will screw up the day worse than a parent showing up and late. And now you're having to hold the field trip up. And it's just one of those things that makes it so frustrating on, where you're at, because now you're late to the field trip. We book our field trips starting in December because I want to get morning times on the field trips. I don't want the kids outside at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, at a farm or a petting zoo or an exotic zoo ranch, because it's hotter in the day. And it again turns into a negative experience. And, if they have to stay on the air conditioned buses the whole time, that's great, but then they don't get that interaction. So the same thing goes with if you're running, sports camps. We don't want the kids out between 12 to 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon where it's hot and they're physical, because the last thing you want is a kid having heat stroke or something happening, God forbid, die at your camp, because that'll kill it. We're seeing it in our area right now. We had a camp lose a child the very first day of camp, drowned in a pool, because they didn't have the proper safety protocols in place. And, they just announced 2 months ago, they're shutting down permanently. They're done because they could not recover from that kind of reputation inside of the community. So we want to make sure that we're being very cautious of that in what we're doing. So I want to outline the day's activities. I'm going to I'll show you all 5 days, but I'm not going to go line by line by line by line. But it'll give you an understanding about why these are so important, and how if you pre-plan every day and you train the staff on what's expected and what we're doing and what time we're doing it, things will run so much smoother, because now everybody knows what you have in your head as what your vision is of each day. And you're not having to constantly walk by me like, you need to be doing this. You need to be doing this. You're going to have to be doing activities, routines, training before your camps start. Even on the skills camps, you want the coaches to know exactly what you're doing each day. So let's look at just a Monday. Now for Monday, for us, are water days. So you're going to see things in there about doing stuff with water. So our doors open at 7 a.m. Does that mean your staff arrives at 7 a.m.? No. That means the staff is there at 6:40, 6:45, and they have to set up the stations. And we even have a list of what sports stations are set up for each day. And so we'll set up different activities each day, that way the kids get to participate in different things, because you may have some activities that some kids just don't like. So you want to give them a multitude of things they can do. We do activity stations from 7 a.m. to 9 o'clock. Not 9 o'clock, we line everybody up because we have a bunch of brand new kids. They don't know where to go. They don't know where to line up. They don't know the routines. They don't know all the things we've got going on. And so there's even things that we do as new kids are coming in the door. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. But the activity stations are from 7 to 9. At 9 a.m., we do a roll call. We sit down, we call the children's names. We want them to understand. We introduce all of the staff. Now, we have 2 orientation meetings that we do. We have one coming up next Wednesday, the 4th of May, and we have one coming up on the 25th of May, which is right before summer camp starts. I do those because we have parents that are very organized. They've already registered. They're ready to rock and roll. I want to make sure we get summer camp shirts out if they're into us yet. I want to make sure all the paperwork is in, because one thing I'm going to tell you is that even if your camps aren't big now, we're going to get them big. And the last thing you want to be doing is processing 100 kids' paperwork on the first day of camp while you're trying to get all the kids in the door. And there's a line out the door, and you look disorganized. And that's not the vision that you want to put out to potential customers that are going to enroll in other programs. You want to look organized. You want to look like, man, this is a well-oiled machine. It is an operation, and it's just great. You want that experience, even for the parents, to be a positive experience. So at 9 a.m., we do our roll call, staff introductions, and weekly outlines for the camps, for the campers. We do this every Monday because I want the kids to understand. Now, I hope that on the Friday before, when I send out the arrival and departure schedule, and I sent out our weekly schedule for the week, excuse me, that the parents talk to the kids about it. I ask them to, doesn't always happen. Because I want to pre-frame the kids' minds, because I've got some children that they don't do well with change. And so I want to give them just a glimpse of what we're going to be doing. So as we start making changes inside of the day, they're not getting frantic. They already talked about that. This is what we're doing now. And so we're lining them up, and we're talking about the week, what we're going to be doing, what we're doing each day, what the expectations are for behavior, what we're going to be doing on the buses if they're doing field trips. And I would do the same thing even if you run sports camps. You need to have that sit-down time. We're going to talk about check-ins and stuff here in just a little while. But one of the things we want to do is we want to make sure the kids fully understand what's expected of them and what's expected during the daytime. And we talk about this in the orientation meetings with the parents, summer camp orientation night. 9:15, roll call's done, and we break into groups and we do icebreaker games. In the icebreaker games, we're just getting them to know each other. They get to know who they are. They get to make new friends. We get to partner them up. If we see any child that's kind of trying to isolate themselves, we want to get them into the fold. So I try to match them up with somebody I know probably has a similar personality or is a nurturing person. And if I can do that, then I can get them started. We can start making friends, and I'll tell them, hey, you need to go introduce them to 2 or 3 new people. And we have our kids that have been with us for year after year after year of camp, and they know what to expect. And some of them just are proactive about it. They'll see a kid just standing around, they'll walk up and introduce themselves and, move them where I need them to be at without an instructor or a counselor having to tell them what to do. And that's an important thing if you can build that into your kids. So let's get back to it. So at 10 a.m., so from 9:15 till about 9:50 or 55, we are doing the icebreaker games, and we'll show you different ones you can do on that. Now at 10 o'clock, we're preparing for our first field trip. So at 9:50, 9:55, line back up. Everybody lines back up again. And so the first question we ask, and now we do ask the parents on swim days, have them come in their bathing suit with their shorts or a shirt over the top of it. And that way that we're already in bathing suit, and we're minimizing the number of kids getting changed. For us, I don't want to have to change 150 to 160 kids twice a day. It's already a big logistical thing when we come back from swimming that we do them, and we actually do them in shifts. One group comes back, they get changed. Second group comes back, they get changed, but they're moving and where we're at, so that it minimizes the frustration level of the kids and just the standing around time doing nothing. At 10 o'clock, we're preparing for our first field trip of the week, which is a water activity. So if they're not in their swim gear when we line them up, please go get it on, come back and get in line. Now, we apply sunscreen, and I would highly recommend that you do the same thing. Now, if you're running sports camps, it's a little different because the parents can literally put the sunscreen on right before they're checking in, which I highly recommend. Don't let them put it on like at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the morning, and your skills camp doesn't start till 9, and you're going to run them for 3 hours. I would also highly recommend for the sports camps, if you've got children you know are fair skinned, have extra sunscreen with you. So if you see them getting off of red, go ahead and put sunscreen on them immediately. I have some of my children that are super fair skinned. We'll sunscreen them 2, 3, 4 times, in a small amount of time, because I do not want to return a sunburned child to a parent. And if they get sunburned on Monday, it's going to make for a crappy week, the entire week. We want to gather their lunchbox. So after we get their sunscreen on, they're going to go to their locker or their cubby. They're going to get their stuff, and they're going to start lining up. And so when we line up, we've got counselors that have multiple roles, or each counselor's got their own role. We have counselors that are doing sunscreen. We have counselors that are making sure that our water jugs and our stuff with our equipment bags are going with us, med bags, the whole 9 yards. I've got counselors that are in charge of doing head counts, roll calls, and lining up. Now, if you're doing a skills-based camp, none of that's any different. But if you've got coaches coming in, you need to make sure, okay, you're in charge of water duty. That means all the water jugs need to be filled up in their position and station where you want them to be at, so that when you're running your stations, water is where it needs to be at. I highly, highly, highly recommend. I don't have one with me today, but I'll try to bring one when we get tomorrow. Half-gallon water jug. Get them from Walmart or wherever. Academy Sports doesn't make any difference. I like the ones with the hooks on them, because if you're running sports camps, you can hang them on the fence if the fence is close enough. For us, we have lockers, and they have holes in the lockers. They can hang them right on their locker doors. And it makes it super easy. It's not falling down inside of the locker, or it's not falling over the sports camp. All the water's pouring out of it. And the one reason why you want a half gallon is that, one, and tell the parents, fill it up before it ever comes out to you. Don't send them to camp with an empty water bottle. Make sure it's filled up, because the reserves you have, you want to make sure they're used for as we're rehydrating near the end of the day or end of the field trips, not at the beginning side of it. They want to gather their lunchbox, their water bottle, their towel, their flip-flops, and get them lined up, because we want to make sure we're getting lined up, we're getting where you need to be at. We want to leave on time and not in a stressful manner. The more we can do this organized, the more we have things where they're at, the better off. I would highly recommend, like we are doing this year, the 27th, which is the Friday before the Memorial Day weekend, we're doing staff training. School's out. The academy is closed for that day. We're doing staff training. We're going over with all the brand new staff, what we're doing, how we're doing it, how things move. So our part-time staff that's coming in just for summer, they are fully understanding what we need them to do. The staff lines the campers up, and the ones that are doing the water and the ball bags and preparing the vehicles, they have their responsibility. Now, if you're just doing sports camps, you're not running anywhere, you're not doing field trips, that piece you can take out of the equation. But there are other things that can be done. If you're running a sports camp or a camp where you're not doing a field trip, but you have an area where the kids can go, then you want to make sure that that's being set up. So when you move the kids to that piece, you're not having, okay, guys, just sit down and wait while we set this game up or set this activity up. Because that will, again, idle hands, idle time with the kids are going to get distracted. They're going to start pushing and shoving on each other. We want to make sure as you're moving from point to point to point on what you're doing, things are set up and we're keeping the kids engaged. Man, they're moving. They're rocking and grooving. At 10:45, we're loading kids up. 11 o'clock, wheels are rolling. And we have this down to a science. But these are things you want to start scheduling out for the day. At 11, it takes us about 15 minutes to get to our destination. And even our exit protocols off the bus are planned. so that when staff member gets off the bus, we eat at a big pavilion that's got benches there, picnic benches. So we're eating underneath the shade. This one we also have picked when we have huge camps going on, or both camps are together. The younger group camps are together. There's even this massive oak tree that they can sit on their beach towel and eat lunch on their beach towel. And so we eat lunch from 11:15 to about 11:45, 11:50. And then we police the area, make sure all of our trash is picked up. Then we line up and we do another head count and roll call. It'll take about 2-3 minutes once you get the kids where they need to be at. And then from there, we literally walk probably 75 yards to the entrance of the pool. And then again, we have safety training that we do with the staff on, ingress and egress going in and out of the pool, because we want to make sure, and we've done this forever, but that was the problem with the one camp I was talking about earlier, who unfortunately had a child drown a few years ago, is they did not have ingress and egress protocols. They did not have those things, and the staff wasn't trained on how to do a water rescue. And I would highly recommend, if you're going to do water activities in a pool, hire a lifeguard. There should be lifeguards on staff anyways, but hire a lifeguard on your staff. And their responsibility is they have eyes on the pool during the ingress and egress. So no matter what's going on, they've got eyes in the pool. Where we swim at, we've already worked it out with them. The lifeguards are sitting in the stands. They're ready to go. Staff is standing between the pool and where the kids are moving to put their stuff up. And as they're moving back to go sit on the side of the pool, they're not allowed to get in the pool until I've got my staff positioned both around the pool and in the water, so that we can control and manage the situation. We'll get into deeper stuff about swimming on one of the Monday calls, because I've got a lot of information I'm going to cover over the next 2 days to make sure you guys are set up. We do we swim from 12 to about 12:50. And then we line them up, get them out of the pool. And again, the staff is herding them literally out of the pool, making sure that every child is out of the pool. It's ours. And we have a band system that we use so we can identify all of our kids all the time. They get out, staff is standing between the pool and where they line up at. The bus drivers are going to get the bus. Other staff members are doing roll call. And we've got 2 staff members that are in the very back, and they're making sure that all of the stuff is being herded up, grabbing any lunchbox, water bottles, towels, flip-flops, goggles, whatever it is being left, and we make sure all that stuff is secured. We do another roll call. We do another head count to make sure, and then they upload on the buses, and we take them back. Now, I would highly recommend that if you're running any kind of activity in the afternoon, like if you're running martial arts lessons or soccer lessons or whatever it is, and you've been out in the sun and the water, take them back and give them a little bit of quiet time. Put on a movie for an hour. Let them kind of decompress, rest a little bit. And especially like our camps, we do allow kids that are starting kindergarten in the fall to come into our camps. Now, for some of them, they're exhausted. And so we want to give them a little bit of rest, reboot those engines, because you all know how it is to run a class and try to teach when the instructors are exhausted and when the kids are exhausted. And if the kids are tired and they're coming in, or they just woke up out in the car, how cranky they are, they're not focused, we don't want that. So we want to make sure that we're going to get them down for a little bit, get them up, and then that'll go on until about 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock, the part-timers are going home, and then when the part-timers are going home, then the full-timers are getting ready. We do an afternoon snack at 3:15. We do activity stations from 3:15 to about 3:40. Then we're lining them up. Now, one thing that I do, and I would highly recommend, if you're running week-long day camps, during the quiet time, first day, start pulling students. And if you're doing a uniform or a t-shirt distribution for their skills setup, make sure and do that then. It's a great time to get them sized up. Things are quiet. Kids aren't, asking you a million questions. You can do that pretty quickly. I would also highly recommend that you're breaking out your class to balance the load, because what you don't want to have is 50, 60 people in class, and then you have 10 doing non-physical development time. And then when they switch, now the classroom's overloaded and the floor is empty. We want to balance that load out and get them where they need to be at. We actually, during summertime, have to run 3 groups. When we have our mixed martial arts group run, actually 4 groups. Mixed martial arts, we have our jiu-jitsu, and then we have our strength training class that goes on during the same time, because we have so many kids that I can't put everybody in the back classroom. And so we'll move those kids. So even kids that are coming off of the floor, when they go to non-physical development time, kids that were doing non-physical development time, even if they don't have a formal class that day, they're doing something physical in the afternoon, because that way it just balances that load out throughout the day. And then at 3:45, they're getting changed for class. The kids that have class that day, they're getting changed. They're getting on the mat. We have roll call sheets that are out. And then our front counter person, she is in charge of making sure that kids are coming out of the non-physical development time, that they are getting on the mat, and we have them accounted for class. And then we have class times at 4, 5, and 6. And then their non-physical development time for academic review, STEM, creative, building stations, strategy stations. And there's a lot of games and activities we're going to give you that you can use. But a lot of it is just, doing non-electronic time is what it boils down to. I'd highly recommend, even during summer, do about 15 to 30 minutes of an academic review. That allows them to read. The national statistics show that children lose up to 8 weeks of knowledge during summertime on a standard summer, not a post-COVID summer. So now for the kids that are already delayed academically, if we delay them anymore during summer, it's really going to put them even farther behind when school starts. So I'd recommend reading. I talk to the parents about this. We have academic worksheets that are set up, and you can go anywhere to find those based upon their grade level. I also tell parents that they're doing any kind of tutoring programs like Kumon or can't think of the other one right now, but if they bring in their stuff, we'll have them do that during their academic review time. And then Monday through Thursday, students leave no later than 6:30. Most kids are gone. 5:30 to 6, 90% of them are gone. You do have those parents that want to wait to the very last minute to pick up their kid. And so they'll come in at like 6:20, 6:25, 6:29 to pick up the child. So I would highly recommend to you that, one, during your parent orientation, talk to the parents about, look, you need to be on time. If you're not on time, we're going to give you 1 free pass. And beyond that, we're charging you $15 for the late and then $1 a minute after that, because you're going to have to pay staff to be there. And so we want to make sure that we're programming the parents how we want them to act and what our expectations are. So I'm just going to go to the second day. Sorry about that. Let's go over here today, Tuesday. So again, and you guys will get all this information. You'll have it as well, but we'll make sure that you have it. I'm going to post it inside of the Facebook page as well. But this is just an outline of that. This is for Tuesday. This is for Wednesday. This is for Thursday. And this is for Friday. Now, I will tell you that on Fridays, depending on how you're running and structuring, so if you're not doing field trips yet, then when you start doing them, you need to think about this ahead of time. If you're already doing field trips, then what we want to do is we want to make sure that you make the parents understand that when you do the arrival and departure schedule on Fridays, I tell them 2:45 is when we'll be back, or 3 o'clock. Because if you're doing a field trip that's out longer, like we have 2 field trips that we take that the drive time is an hour and a half. And we know that. So we leave earlier in the morning, which means the kids have to get there earlier and walk through our process. But we're also going to eat lunch on the way back. And because of that delay, they're going to be getting back later. Because nothing's more frustrating than you're pulling up for camp and the parents are there and they're tapping their foot, hands on their hip, and they're all, pissed off because they thought you're going to be back at 1 o'clock and it's now 2:45. I mean, and especially if you're out of town, they're not going to be willing to drive to you. And so just want to educate them on what the activities and routines are. I would give them a 30,000-foot view. This is more like a 100-foot view for your staff and you. But I would give them a 30,000-foot view. Need them here by here. I would even tell them when you're leaving for the field trip, because they'll think, oh, well, you say you need them there at 8 o'clock, but you're not leaving until 8:30. I can show up at 8:25. We'll be fine. But they don't realize is that I've got them going to the bathroom. We're doing equipment checks. We're making sure they've got a lunch and a water bottle. And we have to do all these things. We want to make sure how many kids are there, so we already know what vehicles we're taking. But if I've got enough seats and I don't have to run another vehicle with the gas and all that, and I can put everybody on, say, 5 vehicles instead of 6, I'm not going to run a vehicle. That's just, we want to go back to, again, it doesn't make any difference how much money you make in these camps. You can make $1 million, you can make $5,000. It's what you're keeping. So you have to manage budgets, routines, schedules, all of that stuff, employment costs. You got to manage all those things. That's why you'll learn when we talk about tuition, if they don't give a 2-week written notice, they're still paying for that week. I don't care, because I've got staff that I've hired. And I tell the parents, you need to understand, all the logistics and the juggernaut we have to put together to make these things function the way that they do, and as smoothly as they do. And we don't want to get them thinking that, oh, it's no big deal. And it is a big deal. So just set up your routines, and you want to make sure that even on when you're doing, and I'll talk about this at extensive length on a Monday call, but you even want to have the lunch buffet set up to where, and the staff is trained on how it runs. Parents come to me all the time when we're out at lunch and we're feeding 150 kids, and they're like, how in the hell do you do that? It's about structure. It's about systems. It's about routines. Everybody's got their part, and everybody knows what they're doing. And we've coached the kids on what the expectation of behavior is. Because parents will come to me like, I have never seen this many kids act this well before. And that's a testament to what we're doing, what we're training, and what we're instilling in the kids. Okay, let's get into staff schedules. You probably have heard this saying before, if you're not 15 minutes early, you're 15 minutes late. I'm big about showing up on time, showing up prepared. So there's an old saying about 80% of success is showing up on time, showing up prepared. If you just show up on time and you showed up prepared, you're already outperforming 80% of the population right off the bat, which is a good thing. You're in that 20 percentile and you're going to be successful. So I tell my staff, your shift, when you get ready, you come in, anything you need to do, you need to go to the bathroom, you want to get something to eat, all that's done before you clock in. We're not doing this clocking in and, oh, you know what? Let me go visit the bathroom for 15, 20 minutes because you got softer toilet paper, or I need to get something to eat. I'm hungry. We're working. You're on the clock. So get all that stuff done you need to get done before you clock in. And if that means you got to get up early at home, that's what you got to do. Schedule for activities set up for each day. And we'll show you when I do staff stuff, we'll get into that. I think I've got it done in a few slides. So we want to make sure that those routines are set up every day. What are the schedule for activities set up for each day? What are the schedule for daily activities? What are the field trips we're doing? And then I make my staff wear color-coded shirts because we have 3 camps. If you're starting new camps, don't do what I'm doing now, please. But you can still put the staff in staff shirts based upon what their responsibilities are. And so my orange team wears orange, my blue team wears blue, my red team wears red. So they know, and the kids know, that's my counselor. That's who I'm going to for assistance. They can go to anybody, but they know that that's the orange team, that's the blue team, that's the red team. And I use bright colors. Like you could put somebody out and land an airplane kind of bright. And that's what we use. So they need to understand about what their responsibilities are for field trip prep, departure times, pre-return schedule, return schedule, and arrival schedule. What happens when we get back? Who has to do what? And all of these things are outlined for the staff, because the more you can do that, the greater opportunity you have to be successful, reduce stress, and things run smoothly. And then staff's not sniping at each other. And then you're having to come in and play referee. Because like anything else, you're going to have the staff members that bust their butts all the time. You're going to have the staff that's just doing their job. I want them to be proactive. We look at employee lunch schedules, because when you get back, you want to make sure you're getting your employees' lunches, especially your instructors. So if your instructors are part of your camp, or if you're running a skills-based camp and you're running two camps, let's say one from 7 to 10 in the morning, and then let's say 11 to 2, or a 10 to 1. You want to make sure that your coaches are getting a break time to get something to eat, to get their batteries recharged. Our days are long. So when we get our staff back, I tell the instructors, get out. I don't want to see for at least 90 minutes to 2 hours. And so that way by 3:30, all the instructors are back. All of the part-timers are getting ready to depart, and they're overlapping each other. Afternoon and evening class schedules. I had to get all my instructors last night. They gotten a little complacent because the junior instructors are kind of managing the floor as their kids are coming on. And my thing is that 15 minutes before class starts, minimum. 15 minutes before class starts, uniform is on, you're on the mat. You're greeting the students as they're coming on. You're greeting the parents as they're sitting in the stands. And I look up in my cameras, and 2 of my instructors are 5 minutes before classes are starting. They're in the break room, having a meal, hanging out, had to get on. So again, this goes back to making sure that they understand their roles and their responsibilities. Because the deal is that no matter what segment of your business you're looking at, whether it's the camp part, the instruction part, whatever it is, you can have everything run right, but if one piece of that fails, that's what the parents are going to remember. That's what the kids are going to remember. So if the parents are looking around and they're seeing that there's no instructors on the floor and it's mismanaged and the kids are running around like Banshee Indians, then it's like, you know what? This place is disorganized. I don't need my kid here. And they're going to pull them. And that even just goes for your skills-based programs. If you do not have a good structure and routine, then I promise you, parents are going to look at that. And believe me, parents love spreading bad information more than they love spreading good information. You're going to have to do 100 things right to get a positive review. You can do one thing wrong and somebody's blowing you up with a negative review. So you want to make sure that you're protecting that reputation and making sure the staff is on the same page you're on. What are camp closing procedures? Which means we're shutting down at the end of the day for camps. What has to happen so that we're not having to come in the next day to have to clean and get organized and be ready for the next day? What are camp cleaning schedules? So even when there's a break, the part-timers go in, and when the kids are in their downtime, when they're doing a little bit of rest time, they're doing cleaning for my part-timers while my other staff is doing that. And so it's all rotated around. But you want to make sure all these things are outlined throughout the day. One thing I also do during summer camps is that I hire an evening cleaning crew during summer because the days are so long. When we are finished at the end of the day, classes are over at 8 o'clock. I want my instructors to go home. I don't want them sticking around for another hour cleaning up the academy and doing those things. All right. So let me check my schedule real fast and make sure I'm actually a little ahead on time, which is not a bad thing. So let's get into marketing of camps. So you need to go in with a mindset that we need to have 100 ways to get one student, not one way to get 100 students. Because one thing you're going to learn is the more ways you can attract students, the more you're going to attract them. My theory about marketing is like the donkey on Shrek. If you've ever not seen the movie, go watch the movie and you'll fully understand what I mean when you get there. And Shrek's asking for volunteers and the donkey's in the back going, pick me, pick me. We want to constantly be in their face, whether it's social media, whether it's signage outside. If you have vans or buses and don't have them decaled up, you are really shooting yourselves in the foot. because you should always track your marketing. So when somebody's coming in, they're calling on the phone, hey, I'm calling about your summer camp. I'm calling about your soccer, your martial arts, your baseball. How did you hear about us? That ought to be one of your questions. Our number one response is, I saw your vehicles in the area, then I saw your Facebook ad, then I saw your vehicles again. So we know what's drawing them because our vehicles run in the community every day. They're moving billboards every day. It's like watching that truck go down the street with a sign on it on the trailer. It's the same thing. We just have it on the side of a van or a bus. So you want to make sure that you're constantly marketing who you are and what you provide to the community, whether it's social media, print, mobile billboards, do parent interviews, parent testimonials. All these things need to be part of your marketing program. Videos are huge. Video has become the new way. And if you're not using video, I'm going to highly, highly, highly recommend. Now, when I did these statistics 6-8 months ago, they were spot on. I think it's actually even higher now than what it was. Instagram is really doing everything they can with Reels to compete with TikTok. You've got YouTube. It's got YouTube Shorts coming out. They're actually testing it in other markets. So let's just talk about video marketing because we need to understand why it's so important, right? Because if you look at how people's minds work, if it's moving, it's like a cat with a laser, right? When the laser's moving around, the cat's following it. Video does the same thing, but it's got to be engaging video. It just can't be a talking head like your history teacher was in college. Yes, my name is Mr. Smith, and I want to talk about Christopher Columbus Day. Oh my God, I'm going to sleep. I'm going to scroll up, go to the next video, scroll up, go to the next video. We want to keep them engaged. So video marketing and streaming has increased 32% since the pandemic. And I think it's actually probably even higher than that now. Companies will have to produce engaging content to keep potential customers engaged and drive them to their service. We're constantly shifting videos, making them different, engaging so that people will stay on for as long as possible to get the message out to them. Live video is a must. It doesn't need to be a long live, like a vlog or anything of that nature. Just get on and record a tip of the trick of the day, a topic, especially if you have something going on inside of the community that parents are, wondering, how do I talk to my kids about it? If you've had a child abduction, if you've had, a situation of all the different topics that are going on in the world. You don't have to be mean. You don't have to be ugly. Just speak truth. Also, let them see your vulnerable side. Let it be oh man, you'd never believe what I did today. Parent of the Year award right here. And just share with them. They're going to be able to relate with you and in your community. So make sure you're recording a live video at least 2 to 3, 4 times a week. If you can do one every day. And I would do it at the same time every day so you build them into routines for even watching your video. Because if they know, right, you can call it the 10 o'clock tip, right? Whatever it is, the noontime break tip, whatever you want to call it, doesn't make any difference. But if they know that at a certain time you're going to be going live, oh man, got to go watch that live video. Give them some good content. Give them something inspirational that they can build from. And so do that as much as possible. YouTube is the second most search engine in the world. Some of these things I may be telling you already know, but I just want to make sure we're on the same page. YouTube is owned by Google. Now, one thing YouTube does on their marketing side, if you're paying for ads with them, not through Google AdWords, but through YouTube ads, they have a neat little video set up. They're only 30 seconds long as the format. They don't let you click off in the first 6 seconds, so you want to make sure and front load the branding of who you are in the front or the offer in the front and make it engaging content. But the good thing is if they click off after 6 seconds, they don't charge you for it. If they stay on the full 30 or they click to the ad, then you're going to be charged for it. So the thing is that they've kind of got some skin in the game, but it really boils back down to you, is they're giving you a format to try to get them to engage customers. It's now your responsibility to get engaging content. So if you're doing video yourself and you're not a great videographer, I highly recommend spending the money on a professional so you can get videos done professionally. YouTube, and I'm still trying to figure out all the things about this. They have a live video option now. It used to be where you had to have so many followers, but now that's actually changing. And we'll talk about that more as I learn better, so that when we can present it on a Monday. The bad side is that Facebook and IG are together, Google and YouTube are together, but they don't cross pollinate. So the thing is, you'll have to take, excuse me, one down for one and post it on the other. And TikTok's kind of they're the redheaded stepchild that's really kind of taking things over on the video side. But you can, even on that, you can take the TikTok video down, capture it, and move it to whatever format you want. And I highly recommend doing that. Reels and TikTok both have great closed caption systems that you can put in, and they're gauged and they change sizes and they move around. You can do all these things with them in the editing process. So I'd highly recommend you can record even in segments in video and change up the different things you're doing, and then you can put them together. So I would highly recommend that you're doing that. And then I recommend personally recording in landscape and then getting one of the editing software pieces on your phone to get it into portrait. That way you can do it on YouTube. You can do it inside of the other formats. I would recommend shorting the longer videos and then breaking them up into short snippets. So one thing we did is we had a bunch of our parents record testimonials. And so one thing we're going to do is we're going to take the pieces out of there that are super important to us. We're finishing up a compilation testimonial video, and then I'm going to put it up as an evergreen ad. Just let it run. A couple of bucks a day. Just let it run. I can brag all day long. You can brag all day long about how great your program is. When they're hearing it from other people, it carries different weight than when we're saying it. They expect us to say it. I mean, who's running around saying, man, I got the crappiest martial arts school in the area, right? Now, it's kind of funny is that we used to have a barbecue place. They're still here. They're very big. But they used to have an ad campaign that was the worst barbecue in Texas. And it worked for them. I've thought about doing that, but I just don't have I don't know. I don't know if it would backfire. So I haven't tried it. And I want to ask you guys to test it out. But for them, it worked. They had a really attractive woman saying, that the worst barbecue in Texas, and then she would drink a barbecue sauce right out of the bottle. And so, but it worked for them, and it was an amazing, successful ad, and how they did it. So I would recommend shooting longer videos and breaking it up. And I would even recommend taking and doing a kind of a short film about your academy. Do a story about your soccer academy, your baseball academy, martial arts academy. Let them see how you got to this point. Let them see the story. If they can relate with you, they're going to buy you. Now, unless you're in a sparsely populated area, you may not have a lot of competition. Where I'm at, in other largely populated areas, I mean, heck, I can walk out of my door and throw a rock and hit 2 or 3 martial arts schools. But they know who the 800-pound gorilla is in the area. Same thing with after school and summer camps. We only have one camp that's bigger than we are, but they're an outdoor camp, and they've got almost like a size of a ranch. But my goal is that by next year, we're going to be changing that. But we still run numbers that are just short of where they're at. But they're outside all day long. They get no air conditioning, no indoor stuff at all. And believe me, that is something that I talk about. Do you want your child outside all day long in 110-degree heat? Or do you want them to be inside where it's air conditioned? They have sports and games and activities where that's climate controlled. They're not going to be suffering from heat exhaustion, things of that nature. Believe me, I point that out because I want to separate myself, and I'm not just another camp. You want to look at, we talked about YouTube as an advertising model. You want to look at Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Snapchat as well. And even LinkedIn, all of those guys use what's called a 3-stage funnel system. for their ads, which allows you to boost or super boost posts, retarget the ads. It's all the same stuff. So you want to make sure if you're doing it yourself, you need to study how all of those different factors work for you. I personally, it changes so fast, I can't keep up with it. I have a marketing team that does my stuff for me. I just talk to them about, when things are not pulling the numbers the way they want. And my ad team's really good to me. They notice if it starts trending a certain way, they'll call me and say, hey, this is trending in the wrong direction. We're going to shut it off for a day and then reboot it. One thing we just started testing is doing 3 weeks on, 1 week off, 3 weeks on, 1 week off. But in that 3 weeks, we're spending more. And then the 1 week it shuts off, lets all the ad stuff reset, and then we're pushing back again. Now, YouTube Shorts is being tested in India, and it's a lot like TikTok and the Reels through Facebook. It's just not here in the States yet, but I know it's coming. And we've talked about before, marketing for camps, it needs to be like the donkey on Shrek. Recording evergreen video for your camps gives an overall view of the camp. You want kind of that 30,000 foot view. And for me, I do the 30,000 foot main one, and then I have one video for each camp. So regardless if you're running like multiple day camps like I do, football, and I got some of my clients that run football, soccer, and cheer camps all at the same time. We'll run an overview, but also run one video for each of those. Have a video for each of those. And it doesn't need to be but $1 or $2 a day. I'm not talking about going breaking the bank here. But if you have those videos constantly running all the time, it's kind of like it's legal stalking is what it boils down to. We just want to stalk the clients with the retargeting ads, go after it. No different than any consumers doing to you right now. I mean, any store chains doing to you right now. Heck, if you look anything up, I looked up Puma soccer shoes for my son yesterday. And within 30 seconds, that was being blown up. Here comes the ads. They're retargeting. And they've got millions and millions of dollars to do that with. And believe me, they've got really high-tech stuff to do it with. You can find companies that can do it that's affordable, but they're going to constantly keep you in a situation where you're standing head and shoulders above everybody else when it comes to marketing. And I'm going to share some videos with you guys here in just a second. I've got them queued up, but I'm going to go ahead and share them with you guys in a second. On some of the videos that we do, and we've got some new coaching clients on here. The old coaching clients, I've already seen that one, yes, but just look at the videos and how we do them and why we do them that way. And then make sure your marketing team is retargeting your ads. Make sure your pixels are located on your sites, whether if you're doing ClickFunnels, you're doing a Facebook page marketing, whatever it is, make sure the pixels are on there. So it's telling the marketing team and you where and how to track the metrics. Because I'll tell you, no matter what, there's no lying about the numbers. You can get mad you're not getting students in the door, but if you're not going and you're not checking the metrics are going to tell you what's happening, where the downfall is. And so we want to make sure that we're doing that. So I have a couple videos I want to show you guys. Let me pull those up real quick. And I'll make sure I'm going to stop sharing this one temporarily. And then I want to bring up one video. This is a video series we did. There's several of them that are in here. I'll show you one that we did on let me get this thing to start, and then I'll
Lion Cronkite here.
All right, let me share this. Share the video. Where's it at? I want to go to screen one. Hang on 2 seconds. This thing is not cooperating with me. This is where the equipment's smarter than the operator. Let me try this one more time, bring that up. And I'll show you the
Right
videos.
outside the Peak Performance Training Center in Cedar Park. We're gonna see if we can get this. So here's the music plan. We're gonna see if we can get exclusive with Master Gary's show.
And these videos are posted on the these videos are posted inside of the Facebook page. You can get these videos in there in the membership section.
I'm a fan of you.
So just make sure and make sure that you've got these videos up as well. If you're not seeing it, I apologize. But just go to the Facebook member section. Those videos are there. And so these videos are where they're at.
Come on, God. What?
It's a great time. So I'll tell you what, I can't give you everything.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. So this year we have amazing field trips for all of our kids.
You gonna tell us anything about the field trips?
Not just yet, but I'll tell you what. You know what? We have a music video we're recording.
What?
I'll give you guys the exclusive. But you're gonna have to wait till next week.
No.
Yep. I can't tell you what's gonna be revealed at, but I'll let you know.
Okay.
And then you guys can come back. We'll do the video. We'll have a really great time. Because remember, the summer's so bright, you gotta wear shades.
What? What? Lion Cronkite here with the exclusive. And people are saying, thank you, Master Gary. So thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Back to you, Tiger, in the studio.
So from there, what we did is we took this one. Oops. We took that video and then we ran it into one we did a week later because we already told them what we're going to do. And so then we ran it into, I think it's this one. Or this is, that was just a summer camp. Hang on 2 seconds. And this is the reveal video that we did.
Master Show. I'm here with the cameraman from BNN. We are waiting on Mr. Cronkite to show up so we can do our exclusive interview and do our music video release of our Summer So Bright You Gotta Wear Shades summer camp theme. So hopefully he'll be here in just a minute and we'll have a great interview and show everything we're going to do this summer. Oh, here he is. Oh, Mr. Cronkite.
Michelle, I am here for my exclusive interview.
Well, thank you for showing up.
Yes. So I got everything ready. I'm so excited. But here's the thing. I want to do the camp too.
I love it. You can't.
I'm more middle-aged.
But you're still an adult. But I love the fact that you have the Summer So Bright You Gotta Wear Shades floaty. That's awesome, dude. That's so amazing.
I'm ready to go. So are we going to get a chance to look at that video?
We're going to look at it right now. You ready to look at the video?
Let's go!
All right, guys, we're going to look at the video right now.
Woo!
So we did a music video with a theme. This is from 2019, but it was a really big hit on how we did it. So let me get out of here. So if you go to the Facebook page, you'll find the videos are in there. That gives you just examples. There's also the evergreen videos that we shot. The new evergreen video we have for after school. We just finished it yesterday. I'm going to upload that today or tomorrow. So as you start looking at it, if you're not, I know some of y'all are building new camps this year, but if you're running after school in the fall, we need to start marketing for after school now. We're already, and we're blessed, don't get me wrong, it's not a brag thing, but we're already where we were at in all of the enrollments that we did of last year, because we always have people that sign up, they're on waiting list, and then we'll have people that will sign up. Like last year was weird because 4th of July week is always our shortest week, our lowest enrolled week, I guess is the best way to put it. And last year, right before 4th of July, we got absolutely inundated. It was a good thing. But we're already ahead, and this is April 29th. We're already ahead of where we were at all of last year. We still have 5 more weeks before summer actually starts. And so it is one of those things that our waiting lists are already getting really, really super deep. I wished I had another 2 or 3, 4,000 square feet. I could put another 50 kids a week in and generate, another $10,000-$15,000 a week in revenue. But we're not there. So let's go back to, I'm going to bring this back up again. All right. So the other thing that we do, and we'll go back to sharing this again. Is marketing for camps. So when we do the marketing for camps, another thing that we do is we do a referral program. On the referral program, what we're looking at is how do we get our families to do our marketing for us and share their story and all the great benefits about it. So we started our marketing in December. That doesn't mean because we're now at the end of April that you've run out of time. You haven't. We've got a lot of time to do things. You can get these cards printed up at a local supplier. I use Got Print or Instaprint just because it's fast and it's inexpensive. I printed up 10,000 of these cards. They're a high gloss, full color, double-sided thing. And if you notice in the bottom right corner, it has a name field. Now, I use this for my customers. I use it for my staff. Tell my staff, grab a stack of these cards, go hand them out. Somebody comes in, I'll pay you a bonus. Who cares how they're coming in? And why limit your staff on, getting the sales in, getting new students to come in? So they just carry these cards with them. My parents carry them with them. They pass them out. So like on summer camp, I do a referral fee of $10 a week for every week they pay for. So my wife was just asking me about one of our families. They had referred somebody. They have 2 kids. It's $10 a week. It's $20 a week. And they enroll for all 12 weeks. It's $240 going back to one of my families. And believe me, when you do that enough, they start to like, well, wait a minute. If I refer this many people a month, then I can actually get, stuff partially paid for. And it's for me, it's a no-brainer. It's just a marketing cost, whether I'm spending it on an ad or I'm doing it this way. But this way, it carries a different weight. The weight of that parent referring is so much heavier and greater and stronger than it is just somebody clicking on a YouTube or a Facebook ad and wanting to learn more about us. That's got a personal reference to it. They know their child's in the program. They know how we are. That parent's already Dr. Hoffman'd us, sang our praises, right? And so we print these up. We pass them out. Hey, parents, can you pass this out? And we got a referral thing going on. We even run a referral contest. So post a flyer on the academy, send out text messages and emails, get them to register for the camps. And I would highly recommend, if you've got a system that does emails and text messages, make sure if you're sending out an email, send out a text message. Open rates on emails are very, very small. So we want to make sure that we're sending them out a prompt. We're sending them out basically a nudge. Hey, I sent your information inside of your email. Can you please go check it? Oh, okay, right? And so we want to do that. Do a referral program. Implement one of these if you don't have one. If you have one, remind them of the summer camp savings for referrals, or even your martial arts, your soccer, your dance, cheer, basketball, whatever. Remind them of the referral program, how it works, because those referrals, they're probably worth 2 to 3 times the amount of money you spent on a cold ad. And what I mean by cold ad is that somebody you've never met before. They don't know much about you or don't know anything about you at all. They just saw, hey, they go want my kid to do summer camp or after school, or, may want to try martial arts or dance or cheer, whatever. But the thing is, when the referral is so much greater value than a cold lead, encourage them to pick up and write their names in the referral card so they can pass them out to friends and coworkers. Provide them with a small discount off the standard summer camp registration fee, or lock in their tuition if they register by a certain date. So we do a pre-registration up to January 31st. We give them a small registration discount. And then we'll do the same thing for doing a code discount after school and summer camp together. That's how we do that part of it. All right. So the other thing I want to do is marketing to schools. Now, earlier before when we talked about marketing or doing things, we talked about why the 501c3 is so important in the whole grand scheme of things. The 501c3 allows you to have access inside of the schools where if you're a for-profit business, for the majority of the people, they don't have that access. School flyers, whether you're doing the printed and you're dropping them off and they're putting them in the folders, or you're doing Peach Jar. And I would highly recommend you get on Peach Jar. The URL is right there, peachjar.com, and see if your schools are in their system. If not, try to bridge the relationship. Because I'll tell you that all the schools in my area are now on Peach Jar. So like it's next Tuesday, we have another Peach Jar. We send out a Peach Jar flyer every month. Summer camps, we send out more. After school, we don't, because I don't want to get the perception that we're doing an after school at a campus. We don't pick up that. So we sent out 71 schools on the flyers. I didn't have to travel anywhere. I was able to do a 4-page flyer compared to a 2-page flyer. I was able to put out information, and I'll show you, we'll give you kind of this is what kind of the flyers look like. And we change them up and move things around. But like on this one, this is the one we did in March of this year. Or February, I'm sorry, this is the one we did on February. And in February, did a test drive our 2021 summer camp. This is for last year, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I grabbed the wrong one. But either way, this one went out in February. So we talk about spring break camp, because I want them to try that out. We had 75 brand new kids that were never in our camps after school martial arts program that did our spring break camp this year. And believe me, majority of those kids are doing summer camp. And so the spring break camp is a huge one. It's a good moneymaker. Number two, it's a good lead gen. It's a good funnel. And so we talked about what the camps were, what the tuition was. And then it's amazing how since COVID, QR codes have made a comeback. And so the great thing about a QR code is it scans it now, and they can do it right on their phone. Something else I saw the other day was that now with the phones, you can scan a logo, and I'm trying to figure out how to do it with our company. If they scan the phone number to bring it up, but if they scan the logo, it'll actually bring it to their web page. If you're like driving by somebody's vehicle or sign and you hit it with your phone, it'll bring it up just like it will on a QR code. So I'm trying to figure out how we can do it for our logo as well, how that's registered so we can do that. So we use QR codes to drive them to a video, drive them to a website. We talk about the camps, what's all involved. But this is 4 pages. Now, if I had to print up 4 pages for or basically 2 front and back, I had to print all that up. Then I had to collate and sort it for all 70 schools. And then I had to drive to 70 different campuses, whether I had a team of 10 people taking 7 campuses each and driving it to them. You're talking about a lot of expense on time, energy, and money. With Peach Jar, I'm able to go to every single one of those campuses electronically. And because I buy my credits in bulk, I buy them one time a year, buy them for the whole year, and I buy them in advance, I get the largest discount. So instead of paying about $25 a school, I'm paying about $15 a school, which is a huge deal. It may be like 12 bucks a school, I think is what it is. But I can market out to 70 schools, which is, in some of those schools, there may be 300 or 400 kids. In the high schools, there may be 2,000 to 3,000. But we get to market to basically 75,000 people in one shot. The open rates for Peach Jar are considerably higher than they are for email marketing and for doing landing page marketing. They go through the setup because it's an email coming from the school. It'll be an opportunity from your school. And so they'll open it. And so the click-through rates at that point are considerably higher than they are in other formats that have that kind of setup, like an email marketing. If you do email marketing, the click-through rates are terrible. Open rates are less than 3%. and then the click-through rates are horrible. So with this one, it's a lot better. But if I'm sending out one flyer, I get one kid to sign up for all 12 weeks, or I get 5 kids to sign up for 2 weeks each. That ad is paid for. That month is paid for. Because you look at $250 a week, ours are $255, $275, and $400 for our weekly camps. But if you look at those setups, and if I just get so many kids, that's paid for. It is done. It is over with. And everybody beyond that point is nothing more than just, it's all I have to do is pay my salesperson commission on what's coming out. So use a 4-page flyer instead of 2. Great open rates. I use QR codes so they can view the videos on the website and mobile devices, especially mobile devices, because parents are not opening stuff on their computer as much anymore. It's more here. That's why text messaging is so important, because 97, 98% of text messages get opened, less than 3% of email. But if I can send them at the same time, my open rates on my emails goes up significantly by 200, 300, 400%. And that's just on marketing. I'm not talking about just information stuff. I'm talking about marketing. If I send a text message ahead of time, we got a special offer for you, or we're using a 9-word email subject line inside of a text message. Go to your email for more information. It drives them there. Again, it's just a reminder. It's like that donkey. Pick me. I'm trying to get your attention. Hey, look at me, look at me, look at me. That's what you want to look at. As I said earlier, I distribute electronic flyers once a month. During slower months, we do about 25, 28 schools. I know here it says 45 schools, but last month I did 71 schools because another school district came online. I'm not having to print flyers and take them down there. I can just hit them, whether we get it or not. Again, we have enough enrollments that it's paying for itself. But again, I'm in front of somebody, and I'll share the new 4-page flyer we just did. I'll share it on the Facebook page. And if you get enough credits, you can get it down to about $20 a school. We even get it down now where we even get a bigger discount. And so we can get to, 70,000, 75,000 people. And that doesn't include anybody going, hey, I got this flyer, looks like a summer camp. And then you post it. The great thing about P-Star is when you're getting ready to post a flyer up to the school district, you can broadcast it on your social media site. And so a lot of parents will be like, they'll tag somebody this, or what about this for so-and-so, their child's name. Hey, thought you may need this, or a parent to another parent, tag another parent. Hey, this sounds good. Again, that's just ways we can get it there. All right, so we've talked about the flyers themselves. I do a lot of pictures because I want them to see that. I want them to see happy faces kids. I want them to be that. On the after school one that I do, and you'll see those on the Facebook page, but the after school one I do one picture of our bus, because think about what's rolling around in the neighborhood every day is our buses. So they can relate, oh, that bus goes with that flyer. That's the same company. I want to correlate those two together. A couple of things, highlight points I put in here for the parents is, one, you'll notice there's always things about all-inclusive. One thing we do is we actually have one of my staff members will mystery shop all of our competitors. And then we put together a spreadsheet on every single company, what they offer, what their enrollment rate is, what their add-on rates are. Because one thing we talk about is that their camps are not all inclusive. If you want a kid to do a field trip, it's going to cost X. And like the one camp that's a little bit bigger than ours, they have their base camp, but if you want to do the zip lines, it's more. If you want to do the canoes and do the water activities, it's more. If you want to do different activities, it's more. If you want to do they have like a laser tag or like a paintball. If you want to do those activities, they're not part of the package. Those packages now start running up into the $400 range easily, sometimes $500 or $600 for a week. So by doing an all-inclusive camp, if you don't have a huge space that you can build those things into, then you're looking at a situation where it's going to cost you considerably more money to be able to do those other activities. We just want to do all of it. The other thing that we're including with them that they don't, none of them, maybe a few of our direct competitors like a martial arts school or a dance school, is they don't have the professional skills included. And even some of those, if you want to do a professional skill, you have to pay extra for it. I just put it all in one, because what I want to look at is how am I funneling them into our other program. So even if they don't want to do after school or do another week of summer camp, I want to get them signed up for martial arts lessons. And so everything I can expose them to inside of our program will give them that exposure. And I can talk to the parents about that. And the kids like, yeah, I really enjoyed class. And parents like, well, we really don't need after school because I get off at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay, cool. How about martial arts lessons? Well, mom and dad, since you're already going to be with them here to watch class, why not get a uniform, get on the mat with them? So you want to funnel not just the kids in the program, but the parents in the program. All right, so let's look at marketing to the schools through Facebook. You want to run evergreen ads. You want to run evergreen ads for your summer camp. Now, use a great marketing team, or at least if you use a great marketing team, or at least hire someone to write ad copy for you. I'd highly recommend that. And if you're not, then I would highly recommend that you get a program called Grammarly and let it check your grammatical setup, your grammatical structure inside of whatever it is you're writing. I'm not a great writer. I am not. And when I write things, I have Grammarly check it. I have my wife check it. I have my staff check it, because I'm writing from a male standpoint of view. I want my mothers to be able to relate with that. So I have to change the language sometimes so it's going to relate more with a mother, right? Use our lead costs for Facebook ads for summer camp are below $10 a lead. Martial arts, because there's so many martial arts schools in our area, are higher. They could be $30, $35 a lead because there's so many schools in my area. Now, parents are hunting, and sometimes if they're not directly hunting, people have attention spans like gnats. And if something interesting comes up in front of them, they're going to click on it. And so you want to make sure that, like I was saying about have engaging video, so that when parents come across, oh, that looks interesting. What's this? Let them stay on it. Let them click on it. Let them go through the set. But we want to make sure that we're doing that. Video ads pull better than static ads. I'm just telling you right now, if something's moving, it's like the cat with a laser. We want to make sure that we're getting to follow the laser, right? Or follow the bouncing ball. We want to get them to do that. All right. So I want you to take a minute. I'm going to pause the video for a couple of minutes. I want you to take a minute, and I want you to write down some notes and stuff. I've always been doing that on the blueprint that we gave to you. I'm going to stop the video for a second. Everybody let's take 5 minutes. Hang on just 2 seconds. I want to see let's stop the share. And let's see where we're at with our schedule. We may be ahead. That's okay. I can give you some more stuff. No, we're just a few minutes ahead, which is a good thing. So what I want you guys to do is I'm going to pause the video. Let's take 10 minutes. If you need to get up and go to the bathroom, get a drink of water, whatever the case may be, let's go ahead and do that now. I'm going to pause. All right, guys, I'm back. We're going to get into staffing for camps. So one thing that I'll definitely recommend that you do is go to your state requirements. You should do that anyways for licensing, but if there are any requirements. But you want to look at your staff camping ratios. A lot of times are kind of similar to what like a school is: 1 to 15, 1 to 17, 1 to 22 or 25. It just all depends on what the staffing ratios are. we used to do crazy stuff back in the day. We'd run one counselor and 25 or 30 campers. The attention span of the kids are not that good anymore, so running those numbers is, I would say, it's untenable. So I would highly recommend we run around 1 to 8. I'd recommend running no greater than 1 to 10 because you want to make sure that you've got the proper people. Now, depending on the person, I do have junior counselors. I don't pay them, but they're allowed to come in and basically get internment type things. And they're already in they're already black belts, or they're really close to earning their black belt. I do that because I really want my counselors to be 18 years of age or over. And I prefer that they're at least 21 to drive. Now, I do have a couple of them that are they're squared away individuals. And they've been with me since they were 8 or 9 years of age. They're now 20 or near 21 years of age. And so they know exactly how they need to act and what they're doing. I had mentioned earlier in the call that we are doing a staff training on the 27th of May. Most schools are out, not all of them, because I know that my school's on the West Coast and some on the East Coast because they were closed for so long. Schools are not getting out to the 16th of June. And so I would highly recommend, if you're not going to start camp that week, then bring your staff in, your coaches in, and go over whatever training needs to happen and how you want things to run so that everybody's on the same page and they have your vision of how camps are going to run. They must complete staff training. I personally have all of my staff sign non-disclosure agreements, and my full-time professional staff, they sign non-compete clauses. So on the non-disclosure agreements, the reason why that is so important is you're going to probably run across a situation where you've got a child that may have some learning disabilities. They may have custody issues. Like I have a couple that we cannot take photos of them because they're under protective orders. And so you want to make sure that they're not disclosing any information about, because even a stupid passing conversation can have negative ramifications. So you just want to make them understand that whatever we're talking about with a child or about a child in regards to helping them out, or if they're dealing with an issue or there's custody issues or whatever the case may be, that, and heck, not last summer, but the summer before, we actually had one parent bring a child to us and then come to find out the child had been in hiding. So, luckily enough, we found that out and we were able to make the necessary setups, but it's one of those things you just want to make sure you got everything else. Have an employee handbook. If you don't have an employee handbook, I think I've already put it up there, but I will make sure and put up a copy of ours that you can take and model after. And then make sure, please, this is a requirement in Texas, but this is where you need to understand your state regulations and your state laws. Make sure that your employees pass a background check, because the last thing you want to do is hire somebody that has something negative in their background. You do not want to do that. So you make sure that just covers you, because if something happens and you didn't do a background check, there's going to be serious ramifications going on. Now, on staff compensation, I would just look at what the market's bearing. Don't get me wrong. I think that everybody needs to earn as much as they can, but I think that when you're doing start out jobs and what I call entry level jobs, which would be a part-time summer camp position, paying them a living wage is, not motivating them to do other things. So I would recommend looking what the local restaurants are paying. Like in my area, heck, even Dairy Queen is starting out at $16 to $17 an hour. So we're starting at 15 and going there. Now we include with their employment, they get their martial arts training for free. If they have children, they'll get discounts on the camps. If they're working full-time during summer, I typically charge the cost of the field trips, plus a little bit more. But I don't, if they're just working an hour a day, they're not getting they get to train, or one of their children get to train, but they don't both get to do that. Because I got one staff member right now she just notified me that she got a job offer from her other part-time job to work full-time that she can't turn down, and I'm not going to stand in her way. But she came to me and said, hey, can my kids still train for free, and can they come to after school for free if I just come in 1 hour a day to do social media? And I'm like, 5 hours of work a week is not worth $1,200 a month in benefits that you're getting because you're working, 30 plus hours a week right now. That's not a fair trade. So if she's not willing to do it, hate to see them leave, but I'm not willing to give away when they're not going to appreciate it. One thing that I would highly recommend is developing a training manual, just like you would with an FAQ for your customers about your academy. You want to do the same thing for your staff, and you want to do it for each department. So like the front counter staff, they have their own training procedures. That means they have to learn how to answer the phone. They need to know the phone scripts that we use. They need to understand the retail process when they're taking money. They need to understand how to check the students in using our electronic card system. They need to know how to communicate with parents when parents are coming in with questions about class or what activities happened that day. They're also the frontline person that if you have any kind of incident that happens, Johnny drops his metal water bottle on his toe and it's now got a bruise on it. They got a cut. Whatever it is, make an incident report up and make sure that front counter staff person knows that their responsibility is to make contact with that parent as soon as they're walking in the door. Now, we do phone calls to the parents if an event has happened. It could be, and not the small stuff, right? Little Johnny and little Jimmy are having a little scuffle. You break it up, you send them on their way. I'm not talking to parents about that. Little Susie's running, she trips, falls, and hits her head on the ground. We're doing concussion protocols. We're doing all these things. We're having a conversation with the parent. Especially if they pass the concussion protocol check, then I'm not necessarily wanting to send them home, but I am going to have a conversation with the parent. And on your medical and transportation sheets that you get from us that you're going to emulate and model, there will be, are you allowed to give Tylenol, ibuprofen, those kind of things on there. You want to make sure that stuff is filled out. If we are ever administering medicine, we always call the parent ahead of time. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, little Johnny's got a little headache. We're pumping him full of fluids. Want to give him a little Tylenol. Is that okay? And then log it. That way that everybody is on the same page. Start advertising for staffing right now. We're starting to see a little bit of shift in the market for people wanting to finally start coming back to work. Unfortunately, their expectations about pay are a little out of sight. They think they ought to be making $100,000 a year at a part-time job where they can choose whether or not to show up for work. Not the case. So a couple of recommendations that I'm going to make to you on where to target. You can use Indeed, you can use those, but you have a great resource available to you in your local community. One, I would go to the local universities or any university that's close, or post in your Facebook pages about, hey, do you have a college student coming home that is energetic, engaging, looking to earn wages during the summertime? And if you can do that, that's one area. If you go to the local colleges, there will be athletes that won't go home during the summer for whatever reason. They're having to do summer school to get their GPA up so they can still qualify for their scholarship, whatever it may be. That may be a good resource. I would also tap into, and we've already been sending emails out to the local elementary school coaches in the local elementary schools. Starting on Monday, we're going to start getting on the phone and calling them. Because what I want to do is I want to find 3 or 4 of those. And why they're such a great resource as elementary school coaches, they are used to already dealing with large groups of kids. Because typically they'll have 4 to 5 whether it's second grade PE coming on, they'll know at that time there's 4 to 5 second grade classes coming in at one shot. And believe me, the teachers are not late to drop off the kids to PE class. They're late picking them up. If you've ever done a coach of the day program, you'll see those kind of things. But when you talk to these elementary school coaches, they're used to dealing with 100 plus kids at a shot and keeping them engaged and organizing them and moving in games and activities. So the games and activities we're going to give to you on what you can do, they are great organizers of that. They also have their own resources where they can do like the Just Dance stuff online, doesn't have any of the cuss words or anything in it. And it's just a recording, but we throw that up on the screen. The kids will dance with it. We get the instructors out there dancing with the kids, and we'll do dance-offs and those kind of things. But it's another resource of somebody, and you only need a couple of them, and you don't need all of them to work through the entire summer. If you can get 2 or 3 that can work, say, like the first few weeks, one work the middle weeks, one to work the latter weeks, so they can kind of move things around, then you've got a great resource. And a lot of times they already know the kids because they're from the community, and the kids are already in the schools that they're already at. So they already have a relationship with those children. So that's a great resource. You can tap into the middle school or the high school coaches, but I will tell you, just expect that by the 1st of August, they're going to be gone because of football in both middle school and high school level. And they're typically doing their training with their athletes during the summertime, so that they're doing their 2-a-days, they're doing weightlifting, strength training, they're doing all that stuff during the summertime. Posting your social media post. Get the communities to work for you. Send it out to your parents. Ask your parents to send it out to their social media posts. Because as you may have known now, is that a lot of Facebook groups in each of the neighborhoods. The HOAs have their own Facebook pages around. We'll send it out to somebody in the area. Find a social media influencer in your area. So get it, partner up with them. Heck, even if you're saying to them, look, I'll give your kid free martial arts lessons. You just do me a favor, and when I'm posting things, you're liking it and posting it and sending it out. Let them do some work with you and for you. Who cares if you're giving one kid away a comp program if you've got somebody who's got a lot of followers that can push your message for you? Again, this goes back to what we talked about earlier. As the business owner, they expect us to talk all the great things about our programs. When parents do it, when people in the community do it, believe me, it carries a much different weight than if we do it ourselves. So the elementary PE coaches are a good thing. If you're needing a driver, a bus driver, you say, hey, you got a bus and you don't have a CDL yet, you're concerned about that, go to the local transportation department at the schools. They'll have a certain number of drivers that they're going to have that they're going to keep during the summer because of summer school transportation. But the rest of the driving staff, about 80% of them don't have jobs. When you do a driver, make sure they understand that it's different from school. They're not just going to transport them, sit their butt on the bus with the bus idling for a couple of hours while you're doing a field trip. They are part of the team. They're managing kids, right? But also let them understand that it's not like a school district where they have absolutely no say whatsoever and the kids are running gunshot over the program. They're not, right? They have the structure and the discipline built inside of our camps, very different than school. So these are some great resources that you have. I would also reach out to the local school district and see if they have a job posting board for teachers to work during whether a part-time job or a tutoring or whatever it is. They have another area where they can go. The teachers will also appreciate the fact, interview them please to make sure that their mindset is on track with your mindset, because especially like in the martial arts world, discipline is something that happens. We're not beating anybody, but we're disciplined kids. There is a structure. There's a routine. I don't want oh, well, friends, you can do whatever you want. We don't really have any structure or routine. We're not doing that. There has to be structure and routine, because then it ends up turning into the Lord of the Flies. And if you want to see an after-school program as Lord of the Flies, go to your local school district, the YMCA doing it. Man, and I'm telling you, kids are running around, hair's on fire. Counselors aren't doing anything. They're high school students. They're just there to collect whatever hourly wage that they're earning. Okay, let's go to the next slide. All right, let's talk about staff scheduling. Because what you want to do, and I would highly recommend, I didn't do this my first few camps, didn't recognize it until later on down the road. I would highly recommend that whoever your greeter is in the day, in the morning, right? They're an energetic person. How you doing? It's great to see you. I typically put my school teachers at the front door because they're used to greeting the kids coming in the door, right? They got these funny little sayings they say, right? Which is great. But I also have them track how many kids are at certain times of the day. So from 7 to 7:30, how many kids they have? 7:30 to 8, how many kids do I have? 8 to 8:30, up to 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock, typically everybody's in the door on camp, right? But the reason why I do that is it lets me know what my staffing numbers need to be to stay within my personal ratios. I don't have, 50 kids in the mat and 2 counselors there, just like, oh God, come on, hurry up, get somebody to come in the door. I want to know those staff ratios so I can staff accordingly. Because if you're putting out to the community that we have a 1 to 10 ratio and they're walking in and it's 2 to 25, believe me, you're going to have that caring parent that's going to be, oh, you're lying, you're baiting and switching, you're doing all these things. And that's not the case. It's just, and we want to make sure we have coverage. We don't want to have something happen and then something happens to one of the kids and they get hurt, because then it's on our watch. All right. So what I do is, again, and I color code for 2 reasons. I color code for what camp they're in. I color code for if they're in a specific part of the building or what their role is on that day. And so the float is the green, orange is the camp, blue is the camp, red's the camp, purple is after school. Now, one thing that I do with my camps is that when we get to that 3 o'clock time frame and the students are going, the part-timers are going home, we shift to after school mode. Parents aren't aware of this. It's just an internal thing. We shift to that afternoon mode. My teacher has now come in. My school teacher, that's my academic developer, has come in. They come in typically, if you look at the schedules that look at the purple, it's about 1 o'clock, 1:30. And so what they're doing is they're going in and they're setting up to make sure the back room's what it needs to be for the activity, whatever STEM project we're doing that day, whatever our non-physical development time, they know what's going on and it's already staged and ready so that when we're getting to that point of the day at 3:45, it's all set and ready to go. We're not having to scramble. So you want to make sure you're scheduling your staff according to what you need to do to be preemptive in where things are at. In addition, I'm also scheduling lunches. That's what the yellows are. If you have instructors that are doing camp, and that's okay, I've done it for years, I want to make sure to get their batteries recharged before they hit the mat for the 4 o'clock class. If you have an instructor that's tired, not engaging, 2 things are going to possibly happen. 1, they're not going to give the level of instruction and engagement to that child that's needed for the students that are in the evening martial arts program, non-camp. And this could be soccer, basketball, football. The skill doesn't make any difference. I'm using martial arts as a reference because that's my wheelhouse. But the thing is that you want the instructors to be dynamic. People are going to quit at one point or another, whether it's day 1 or day 100,001, they're going to quit. Our job is to keep them engaged as long as we possibly can, not just for the monetary effect, but think about it. Think about the effect you're going to have on a young person's life if you have them in your program 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. For me, I've got people that have been with me for 20 years. Think about the impact I've had to have on their lives, and now they're impacting other people's lives. and the legacy we leave behind by passing down that setup. We're going to have massive impact on the community, especially post-COVID. These kids need us now more than they probably ever needed us, probably since the time of war back in World War II, or maybe during Korea and Vietnam. These children need us badly, and the parents do too. They won't tell you that, but the parents are a little lost right now. I see it all the time. Parents coming to me saying, how do I handle this discipline situation? You be a parent. You make tough decisions, and it sucks. And you're not going to be the good guy. But that's not your job to always be the good guy as a parent. So I schedule out each day based upon load of students. And if you're running sports camps and you know your sport camp starts at 9 o'clock, that doesn't mean your coaches are showing up at 8:50. Just like we do in ours. They show up ahead of time. They have responsibilities of making sure that each of the fields are set up. Each of the stations are set up. Water's where it needs to be at. Everybody understands the ebb and flow. You have members that are at the check-in table, which we're going to talk about in a little while. At the check-in table, they're making sure they're getting on the proper field. They're making sure that they're getting where they need to be at. It's no different than a week-long camp. We have to make sure things are set up accordingly so that as we're moving and grooving, the downtime for the kids is minimal. Because when kids sit, they get bored. When they get bored, they start touching other kids. Another kid touches them. And then a touch turns into a push, turns into a shove, turns into a punch, right? Or something being said. It's going to escalate. And kids' attention spans now is significantly lower than it was just 2 years ago because they're so electronically stimulated that if they're not getting that stimulus, they're going to start getting distracted and bored. So you want to set up your staffing according to your numbers of each day, according to when you need the highs and lows. And then like on the breaks for the staff, I want to get my instructors away for an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, so that they're dynamic when they come back. Because I want them getting dynamic classes for not just my evening martial arts students, but for my summer campers. I may only get them 1 week. I want to move them into my other programs. I want to move them to after school. I want to move them to a professional skills program. So no matter what it is you're doing, you want to make sure your coaches are dynamic. They're engaging. And you need to have a training process for instructor training as well, or coach training. They need to be saying the things you want them to say and coaching the way they want them to coach and using proper correction methods. The days of the correction methods that I grew up with, where you suck, getting kicked across the floor, or on football, your face mask is being grabbed and being drug all over the field. Don't get me wrong, tough love and exercise, done the right way is okay. But done in a derogatory way, you suck, you can't get this, you're stupid, why can't you get this? That doesn't work, guys, and it really has negative anchors that push into these kids' psyche that we don't want to do. We want to push them, but we want to push them in a positive way. And when they get it, dude, have a celebration. Man, that rocked. You're so awesome, man. I'm so proud of you. Give them a high five, whatever the case may be. Let them get used to those positive feelings so that they're seeking that attention. They're not seeking the negative attention because kids are going to seek it one way or the other. I digress. I apologize. So let's get back on staffing. You want to make sure you have proper numbers. My part-time staff are heavy loaded between the 7:30 to 3:30 time frame. It may be 7 to 3 part of them, 7:30 to 3:30, and 8 to 4. Because I want to give my full-time staff time to break off. So the part-time staff is really heavily engaged in that area. My other part-time staff comes in anywhere between 1 to 3, and they work till 6:30. Because they're covering the other half. So when the kids are on the mat training or on the field training, and then our class balance loads are set, the kids in the classroom have their own things to do. They have to have their own set of staff. Now understand that we're running 150 to 160 kids a week right now. So you may not be that big yet, but I'm just giving you vision about where I want you to think and where I want you to be in a better state than where I was at 20 some odd years ago, 30 years ago, and the crazy things we used to do. So on the staffing. So another thing this is what my wife made up. And this was a game changer. She did this, I don't know how many years ago. It's probably about 10 years ago, but it really made a difference on each staff member knowing their role in the day. And we fill this out. So like on Mondays, we do swimming. And so the staff member that's in charge of doing the sunscreening, who's in charge of doing the roll call, who's in charge of getting the buses ready, who's in charge of, getting ready to leave, who's in charge of these different responsibilities, so that everybody knows their role. Now, when we do sunscreen, you can do it the way you want. I would highly recommend that if you're doing sunscreen, even if you're just going outside to play, the girls do the girls, boys do the boys. And when we're sunscreening with bathing suits, I've got cameras everywhere so that there's no hint. Nobody sunscreens in private. The kids do not do their own sunscreen. I mean, I've had people I wouldn't allow to come to camp because they're like, well, my child will put on their own sunscreen. They won't come. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Because I promise you, I've seen it happen in the past. My child put on their own sunscreen that, please let them do it. I won't hold you guys accountable. Child gets sunburned, and guess who they're coming to? Well, you didn't make sure the sunscreen was put on right. So now we just do it ourselves. And we've done that for many, many years. It's not something we just started this year. We've done it that way. And I tell parents in the parent orientation, this is non-negotiable. And I know it sounds crazy, but we even do a short staff training on how to put on sunscreen. Because maybe we've got a camper or a counselor who's a a college student. They've never really put on sunscreen on a child or what to look for. I'm very fair-skinned. I so much as even step out in the sun, if I don't have sunscreen on, I promise you I'm getting burned. In fact, the other day, I went out, you may not be able to see it, but I got burned. I was only outside for an hour, but I didn't put sunscreen on. I got burned. And now I'm peeling on my forehead. So I know that I have to be very cognizant of it. I've got a convertible. And so I've got sunscreen in my car. Part of my routine is I get in, pull the sunscreen out, I'm putting it on. So I'm not burning. So, and you don't want a child getting burned on Monday. It screws up the whole week. Because that's all they're talking about. It's all the parents talking about. Parents mad and upset. So you want to have due diligence on that. So whoever now everybody's trained in putting sunscreen on. Everybody's trained in doing roll call. Everybody's doing traffic management, and that's ingress and egress in and off the buses or in and out of the building. Everybody's trained on it, but everybody has their specific duties. And I move the duties around so that one person, now unless some person comes to me and says, I just want to work with Camp Adventure. That's my really young ones. And I know they're really good at it. I'll move them around because I want everybody not feeling like I'm always stuck with the 5-year-olds. They get to be with the older kids. We move it around. Responsibilities are moved around. Now, I have a nurse on staff. Nobody does medicine management but her. That's in her wheelhouse. That's what she does. Now, she will schedule it, and one person will be in charge on that field trip of medicine that week. So if I have a child that has ADD, ADHD, they've got some kind of maintenance medication that they're on, the nurse will manage the medicine to make sure if she's not on a field trip, it'd be like, Jeff, your responsibility this week is doing medicine. Set an alarm on your phone, and then she sets an alarm on her phone, and she's calling Jeff and saying, Jeff, did you give Johnny the medicine? Yes, I did. Did we log it? Yes, we did. Boom. Okay, we're covered. Right? And we don't have very many. There's 5 or 6 kids we have a week. But I promise you, if you don't do that, I have a bipolar child myself. He's 41 now, but I have a bipolar child myself. And when they get off their meds in a sequence, things get out of hand really, really quick. So we want to help them be able to manage their day on where they're at. So anytime you can do and organize this stuff, can you see that? Can you see the screen, Jeff? The schedule? Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go over and let me hope I shared this. I just looked and realized this is not being shared. Okay, now can you see it?
I've got it now.
Okay. All right, so let's go back to staffing on camps because I don't think I had that up either. So staffing for camps on this is where we want to be at in regards to breaking out the day, doing their breaks when they're coming in, things of that nature, just so you have that as a reference. This is what I send up for staff schedules that we send out. Okay, this is what I was talking about now, and that is on who has what responsibility, what day, at what time. Now, if you notice, we have Camp Adventure and Camp Insanity. Those are my two groups. But each staff member will be listed. I just put this template up so you guys could see it and build upon it to actually utilize it for what staff member has what responsibility at what part of the day. But this is a good way to have the staff on point. All right, let me look at something real quick. All right, so a couple of things that I'll tell you about staffing. One, no mobile phones. Now, they can carry them with them if there's an emergency or we need to communicate with each other, staff member to staff member. That's one thing. But when it comes to just general everyday things, no phones. Now, I will tell you, I highly recommend, same thing with the kids, no bringing phones to camp. They can leave them at home. They can leave them with mommy and daddy. Because inevitably what's going to happen is you're going to have one kid maybe having a tough day, or they're tired or whatever. They're going to sneak in someplace, grab their phone, and they're going to text message your parents. And you got a parent showing up, with something, and it's not something you want going on a regular basis. All right. You want to make sure that if you're doing hourly employees, you want to make sure that staffing has ability to clock in. We use a company called MinuteWorks. They're a log in, log out type, punch in, punch out is right on the computer. So the employees come into the front desk computer. They can type in a number that they're given, and it'll log them in. They clock out, they clock back in. And when we're doing the 30-minute little lunch breaks in the middle of the day, I don't make them clock out. Just, do your lunch. Because a lot of times they'll eat lunch while the kids are doing something while they're sitting there. And in addition, you want to make sure that the staff has a place to put their stuff. We have a room that has lockers in it, and that's where the staff keeps their stuff at. Make sure that the staff has enough summer camp shirts. Now, we color code our shirts based upon what they're doing, so what camp they're with, so that everybody knows, when we're moving and grooving, everybody's in the same color. So I'd highly recommend that. And tell them they have to wear their staff shirts. This is going to sound crazy, but you need to tell the staff on swim days when we're going to the water, no inappropriate bathing suits. I know it sounds crazy, but I don't even let the girl campers wear bikinis. They can wear tankinis, right? But they can't wear bikinis. We had one summer where we had a large number of middle school kids, and it was like, oh my gosh, it was ridiculous on all the drama going on. So that's something else. Make sure that when you do your staff training, especially when you're doing any kind of water type stuff, go through massive training on that setup and what's expected and how we do things. Make sure that your staff, talk to your staff about getting enough sleep at night. If you've got a staff member showing up and you know that they were up till probably 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, you have to have a conversation with them. Don't be fearful of, well, they're going to quit. They may. But the last thing you want, especially dealing with children, is a staff member comes in and they are tired and they are worn out and they're not engaging the kids. They want to sit off on the side by themselves, or they want to sit on the ground. They want to, or if you go to the movies, and this is one for me, no sleeping in the movies. Staff has to stay awake. So, and we position the staff members and kids based upon that setup. So just tell them no sleeping during the movies. Another thing is too, is that talk with the staff about appropriate, and none of the staff that I've ever had have ever done anything that made me wonder, but you want to make sure that if a child's trying to sit in their lap, absolute no. If they're trying to hang on them, no. We don't ever want a situation where somebody was saying, well, so-and-so was sitting in their lap and she was giggling, and we don't ever want any hint of impropriety whatsoever, because nothing will kill your program faster than someone saying this was going on, and then it gets out in the community, especially in today's woke society, because they'll burn you before they realize what the truth is. And you do not want that in your camps. We also want to talk to the staff about communicating with each other. And this is a big one, especially if you have siblings. Like I have, I have siblings that work with me, not my own siblings. I have siblings that work for me that are their siblings themselves. And every now and then they get in those sibling spats. I get it, right? They're siblings, they're going to fight. But I tell them during work time, when the kids are here, those spats can't be going on. You got to bury that. You got to leave it at the front door. If you have a problem with somebody, this is somebody you should have a conversation with. If you've got a problem with somebody, let's hypothetically say that, I'm not doing my job, and Mike and Susie are busting their ass, then it doesn't turn into this, Real Housewives of whatever city, state, and county gossiping going on behind the scenes. It needs to be a face-to-face conversation. Go to that person. Ask them, something going on, something we need to know about. What's the deal today? I need your help. You're not carrying your weight. I try not to get involved in those too much. Now, if the resolution is not coming out of it, then I'll step in. But I want them to learn conflict management, because I don't want things turning into nails on the chalkboard when it comes to staff. You need to set these situations in place way ahead of time. So work on that. Whenever we're doing field trips, when it comes to moving kids either at a location, we're moving them from point A to point B, or we're moving them just outside the academy front doors onto a vehicle. You want to make sure the staff understands their roles, meaning that if you've ever been in the military and you've ever done boot camp, you're marching a lot. But when they're doing crosswalks, they have crossing guards that come up and they block traffic. Now, our parking lot's not super busy, but you can do through traffic on it. And every once in a great while, we'll have a FedEx truck. A big FedEx truck come through, or the trash truck come through, or UPS or Amazon, right? They're moving through. We also have parents that are moving in and out. Our next door neighbor used to be Aston Martin, Bentley, Rolls Royce. And so we used to have people coming in the parking lot with their Aston Martins trying to do 100 miles an hour in a parking lot. And so I don't ever want a child stepping out, or even a staff member stepping out into a situation. So we position them in a way that they have plenty enough visibility. And we're always checking that before we're moving kids, even across a parking lot. I know that sounds crazy, but it's important. Another quick tip is if you're not doing field trips yet, you are doing them, or you're doing them now. Whenever you're loading kids at a field trip site onto your bus, please get the bus up near the curb, so we're not having to have them step in the street. Don't park and walk the kids to the parking lot to the destination. Park up near where you want them to get. Let all the kids load off. If you need to then move the vehicles, you can do that. But we don't want the kids just ambling where traffic is flowing, especially a little one. They may not know any different. They take off, and all of a sudden you got a child out in traffic. We don't want that at all. So these are things you just want to go over with the staff on a consistent basis. I will put up the parent handbooks, the employee manuals, all those things on the Facebook member site. You want to study those even for yourself. Don't just change my name to your name and implement it, and you haven't got the thing studied, because there may be something in Texas that may not fly in Washington or Iowa or Arkansas or Florida. So you want to make sure that it's centered to your state, that you're following the laws. I also make my instructors, especially my instructors, they sign non-compete and non-disclosure agreements. And I mean, and I've had an attorney put it together. So, because we're training our instructors on a lot of information that is really super important, and it's worth a lot of money. Okay. I wonder if there's anything else on staffing that I want to do. All right, so let's get into camp registrations. I'm going to share this screen. All right. Camp registrations. There's multiple ways that you can register for camp. We use an online system, and most of y'all will have some kind of software piece that they can do registrations. One thing that I'm going to try to do, let me show you mine so you can see it. Let me stop the share real fast. Bring that down. Let me sign in here real quick, and I'll show you our registration screens so you can see them. And there's a couple things in here that we're going to give to you guys. One, we have an online registration piece that we've built, and then come to find out, there's something called an ISO 9002 compliance. It's for when you're dealing with credit cards, and we had a credit card field in this setup, so now we have to go and rebuild the whole thing again. So what we're building now is we're building the piece without the credit card information in there, and then we're building that'll be behind a secure site is a credit card authorization form. So you're not having to send out contractual payment agreements. They're going to do it inside of the registration process, which I want to show you here in just a second. Once I pull out the right form. Okay. Oh, that's weird. Why did it do that? All right. We'll try this one more time. Una vez más. Copy. There we go. Okay. Now let's share the screen. All right. So this is one of our registration forms. They're all similar when it comes to how they look. So the camper's first name, last name, parent's mobile, parent email, parent's name. The next thing is that what grade are they in? Now, because we run 3 different camps, I want them to give me a specific grade. If you're just running one camp, you can just put in there, list a grade. But more importantly, what's more important than that is what school they're attending. And the reason why that's so important is so that, we're using this as a funnel. We want to get them into after school if you run an after school program. So the full-time campers, if they're doing full-time or the part-time option, this allows them to reserve the weeks that they want. We do reserve the weeks you need. So if you need 1 week, 2 weeks, 5 weeks, all 12 weeks, doesn't make any difference. So this gets us in. And then we have tags. Did you just see me switch screens, Jeff? Okay.
Yes,
so
sir.
In here, this is the back end of the website. So on the back end of the website, I get to tag them every time to let them know they've registered. So I know how many kids have registered for this camp, this camp, this camp, this camp. If your system has that capabilities, I'd highly recommend using it. So that way, as you're running your numbers, you know how many kids are in the camp, as you're also putting together your big list. Okay. In addition, we're doing t-shirt camp t-shirt sizes. That's important because that way, when you're ordering t-shirts, you know exactly what you have in each size. Now, here's something we added this year because we're switching things this year. Used to be when everybody'd sign up for camp, give us our weeks, and my wife would make up a contract, and she'd send it out through Adobe. And then they would make a modification, send it back. So this year we're doing something completely different. So this year, and these 5 questions at the bottom are super important. 1, I understand that registration fees are non-refundable, meaning that if they paid a registration fee, we're typically are already paying for the field trip cost. We're paying for t-shirts. We're buying uniforms. We're doing all of that stuff ahead of time. In fact, I've got 5 huge Century boxes sitting in my employee area that are just uniforms because I didn't want to have to be tied up with supply chain issues. So those are just sitting there. In addition, second comment, I understand that weekly deposits are non-refundable if any weeks are canceled. I understand any cancellations or changes require a 2-week written notice. The reason why this is important is because if you're going to change, most other summer camps have the same kind of notice. If you don't put that in there, they feel like they can cancel your camp and you don't have time to go to the waiting list. If you go to the waiting list but nobody can come off it, I tell people you're still responsible for that week of camp. Now, if John cancels a week of camp, inside of that 2-week window, I can go to the waiting list and pull somebody. I want good customer service. I'm calling John on the phone. Hey, John, Gary here. Want to let you know I was able to fill your spot. You're not going to be liable for that week. Oh, man, thank you so much. It's building good rapport, right? I don't have to do that, but it's going to stick in their memory. They didn't do anything to help me out. 4th part, I understand weekly summer camp tuition must be paid the Wednesday prior to the next week's camp. If payments are not secured by that Wednesday, we will pull from the waiting list to fill the spot. Now, that's what I'm saying there. Internally, I'm giving them 2 days. I'm giving them till close the business on Friday to get their house in order, to get me a payment. If they don't, that gives me 2 days to pull from my waiting list, if I can, to get what I need. I understand camp enrollment paperwork must be completed and sent back to Peak to finalize your child's enrollment. I promise you, if you take nothing away from anything that I'm going to give you, the last thing you want is the very first day of camp, 100 people standing outside with summer camp paperwork in their hand. Oh my gosh, we've been in that situation. And it sucks on an immense scale because it takes an hour to process that many people. Make sure you got all the paperwork, make sure the payment stuff's in, and all these things are done. So this registration form is just we use it, but it's a template for you guys to use. Now from there, it rolls into after they fill out this registration form, it now goes over to our payment page. So this is Camp Adventure. This is our actual e-commerce site. And this is where they'll pay for their registrations. They pay the deposits, they pay the registrations at this site. If you've got a payments site to do that with, you can do that as well. My wife's going to walk you through this stuff tomorrow on all the payment things, what to look out for, but I'm just giving you a quick preview. Once they get done here, when they go to the exit page, it has another clause that they have to, no different than if you bought a piece of software, you got the terms and conditions you have to go all the way through at the very bottom before you hit submit. And it says the same identical thing. 2-week written notice. Registrations are non-refundable. Deposits are non-refundable. those kind of things. We just want to make sure that all of that is there. And then when those are filled out, we're sent notifications on what needs to happen on that part. Let me get back over here to camp registrations and share it. Share the screen. There we go. Okay. So if you have, there are camp software programs that are out there, but for me, they didn't make financial sense, and I couldn't control using my merchant account. Now we have a custom-built CRM on ours. I showed you a little bit of it, and then we have a registration for the deposits, which I showed you. I'm sorry, guys. Now every time a registration comes in, even if they paid the registrations online, I have my sales team follow up with them right afterwards to make sure they understand that I need paperwork filled out, I need stuff sent in so we can get that, and I want them to get them scheduled for the summer camp orientation. The more I can get parents on board and understand our systems and processes, the smoother camp will run, the greater experience they're going to have. So staff contact to secure and schedule their camp payment options as quickly as possible. We provide a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, and paid in full options. Now this year we're doing it differently, but these are what we did in the past. If they've signed up for every week of camp, then we just charge them the Wednesday before camp starts. We require tuition to be paid in advance, not arrears. Been there, done that, lost my shorts. Had people come in and lie to us. And I tell them now that I had a lady come in 4 or 5 years ago. Oh, he's been adopted. He's in a state agency. They're going to be doing these things. And so we let him into camp. And 4 weeks in, I'm like, where's our payment at? Because my wife had asked me. And so I start calling her, and all of a sudden, can't get a hold of her. And that's when I realized. And then so I called the state, because we have some kids that do have state agency funding. So I called the state, and they're like, that kid's nowhere in our system. They're not in the adoption system. The lady flat out lied. And so we don't do that anymore. We tell them, if you've got state funds coming, tell them to pay you, and you pay us. We're not doing that anymore. So now we set the billing procedure to be doing the Wednesday before the camp they're attending. That gives us a full 2 days. If their payment fails, that gives us 2 days to get them on board where they're at. Sales team's calling, hey, need a payment. If I don't get it, we're going to give your spot up. And then I start contacting the wait list. Hey guys, I may have a spot come up. Are you still interested in it? So I'm already feeding the funnel, because I'm not going to get that tuition anyways. If they're not going to pay me, payment's failing. It's not like I'm shoving somebody out or making them pay an extra week that they're not coming. Their payment's already failed. I want to make sure that I'm getting into that process where I'm already contacting the wait list, and we're pulling from it immediately. And if payment's not to me by Friday, close of business Friday, they're done. Calling the person back. Hey, that spot's opened up. Let's get it rocking and rolling. They're sent registration paperwork and transportation and medical releases, and a parent handbook. Our parent handbook is on the membership site. I highly recommend you review it. When we first started out years and years ago, I think the parent handbook was 3 or 4 pages long. Now it is, I don't even know what it is now, 12 or 13 pages, or even more than that. But as everything that we've experienced over any camp that has to be addressed is in that book. Campers can also register in person. They can come to the academy. In my other programs, I really want to meet the families before they come in. That's one reason why with the mass signups we do, the orientation is so important. But one of the things we do in our phone script when we're talking about summer camps is, we're going to summer camps, and you want to set a time to come in and do a tour. Majority of people say, no, I'm just going to handle everything online. I've already heard about you guys, seen the videos online. If they say, yes, I want to do a tour. I've had people that register, can I come do a tour? Absolutely. Please also sign up for the parent orientation. That way we get you where you need to be at. Get all the registration paperwork. This will minimize frustration the first Monday of every week at camp. As you get later in the summer, it's not that big a deal. You may only have, 5, 10, maybe 15 brand new kids each week. But the first 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks of camp, oh my gosh, it is overwhelming, and we want to get that done immediately. Start compiling t-shirt sizes of your campers, preparing the order ahead of time. I will tell you, because of supply chain issues, like my t-shirt distributor, because we're having to order even more shirts, called us and said, I'm having to pull summer camp shirts, or pull shirts from 5 or 6 different suppliers to get stuff in, to be silk screened, to be sent down to us. And I know last year we had to choose for our black belts, we had to choose a weird color of shirt because the ink colors we needed a year ago weren't available. So it's getting a little better, but there's still a lot of supply chain issues going on. All right, look at something real quick. Want to manage my time. All right. I'm actually way ahead of schedule, which is okay. But I want to go back over to all right. So camp registration offers. There we go. So typically what we do now, this late of the game, I don't give them a discount. It is what it is. And I'd highly recommend never discounting your programs unless they're taking every week of summer camp and they're paying it in full. So for paid in fulls for us, if they do 9 weeks of camp paid in full, it's a 5% discount. 10 weeks is 7.5%. And then we have 11 weeks is 10%, but they have to pay that in full. If they're not paying it in full, then they don't get the discount. And the discount's only on the tuition, not on the registration. Registration is registration. But what we'll do $15 off registration or a free uniform for full registration. Start this offer as soon as the new year starts. Now, we're way past that part, but for next year, we're going to get you guys starting to do summer camp registration starting in December. And I know that's counterintuitive, like, what? So, yes, because there's a lot of families. I had mothers calling me right before the new year. Are you doing summer camp registrations yet? Can I come do a tour? So they're already thinking way ahead of time. And they want to get their kids into camps. And especially with so many camps going out of business. And I mean, we had a daycare calls the other day, a big daycare. Said, hey, we're closing the doors. We're sending customers your way. So it's one of those things that, you know, it's just, you want to make sure that you're ahead of everybody else so that you're capturing as many you can up front. Do combo registrations. Registration for after school, registration for summer camp. In addition, make sure you give additional discounts for additional summer camp shirts, especially if you have a split family with a child sharing time between both homes. Because I promise you, this is what's going to happen. You're going to have kids that are going to go to mom or dad's. Camp shirt's going to be at the other place, and they're not going to have it. We carry extra summer camp shirts with us just in case. I used to make a big deal out of it. Now I don't. I just say, hey, I really need you to have that. But I don't want the kid getting caught up in that mess. Again, back to customer service, over delivering. New summer camp registers for summer camp receive a free month of martial arts lessons if they register, like in January, February, March. Spring break camp, I'll give them a free month. Now, it doesn't have to be martial arts. You have soccer, baseball, basketball, whatever it is. You can do a free month of classes. It's only 8 classes. But again, they're getting to build rapport with you. When they hit summer camp, they're already used to your system, right? Register them for after school and summer camps. So our full registration for summer camps is $50. Our full summer camp registration for after school registration is $195. So if they do both of them, instead of being $245, we do it at $145. They're already doing the $50 on registration for summer camp. So it's one of those things that is really a big deal on getting where they need to be at. Also have registration discounts for siblings. It's not a lot, it's $10, but for them, they're still getting, something for having multiple family members. You can get creative. Just don't give away the farm. I got one of my coaching clients starting a new business and they wanted to be the cheapest in the area. Don't, please. They need to understand the value you're bringing to the table for their family, for their child. So don't do that. All right. Well, we are at a breaking point, and so we are going to take a small break. I'm going to be here. And then if you guys want to ask any questions, talk about anything specifically, I'm going to stop the recording, but I'm not going to shut the Zoom call down. So if you've got any questions, just come to the screen and ask questions or type it into the chat area. We can do that. So I'm going to stop sharing, and then I'm going to put that on edit.